Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to our first Coffee with Sylvia session. My name is Sylvia, and I'm coming here to you today from the living room from my brother. Grabbed a cup of coffee, inviting you as well to grab your coffee and share in the comments below. What your favorite one is. I will. Ilkay, Cafe Crema. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm just drinking here a completely usual cup of coffee because this is what I like at home, to be honest, a little bit of the kind of traditional one. Drinking it consciously, but on a daily basis. Reduced it from many cup of coffees while working full-time in an office, reduced it from probably 5 cups a day or something like that to nowadays 1 to 2 cups of coffee per day. I mean, there are some exceptions, of course, but I love good coffee. I love good coffee. And yes, before we will dive in, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me. This is my first live alone, so thank you so much for bearing with me in advance. Whoever is now joining, please share your favorite coffee below. And I will talk today a little bit about, and you can see here the small coffee below. I will talk today a little bit about, of course, what I've announced and shared on a weekly basis about the art of neuroscience, the art of leadership, especially women's leadership, and also all the work-related topics that we have. And this whole approach for this last quarter got inspired by many messages that reached me lately, even because, of course, Corona challenged us this year to, well, maybe for some of us beyond our limits. And leadership is nowadays something completely different from my point of view that it has been a few years ago, but even today, especially today when we all face this kind of challenges, it reaches a new level of leadership, self-leadership, but of course also the leadership towards others. And I've prepared something here for us. I will share with you and start to set the stage with a little bit of a phrase from a book. I haven't finished it yet, but it's absolutely great. We will dive into that, and then I will share with you the C3 leadership approach that I apply on a daily basis. And at the end, I will invite you for a small challenge. So let's dive in. I want to keep this here a little bit brief and short as possible, and inviting you, of course, throughout the whole session to ask me anything. I will now start to ask you first lots of questions, but before we will dive in, who am I? I'm a certified neuroscience leadership coach, a passionate HR, so human resources expert, and business partner, consulting, coaching, training, all the topics that you can imagine. And I'm also a certified yoga and therapist teacher, 1,100 hours training in North India, where I am now kind of like, if you want to, approaching everything from a holistic point of view. And apart from that, of course, I have been now for almost 10 years in this field, supporting leaders in all kind of stages, from early stage leaders from the C-suite to all the other levels as well. And I want to be here today, being someone who wants to show up and start with something that I call the unperfectly perfect leader. It's something that I want to share in front, that we all kind of pretend that everybody got everything sorted out. This is not the truth. I was running 2 weeks ago on a weekend, a women's weekend, and it turned out that we all kind of try to pretend this, not only online, but also offline. And I'm welcoming you, especially during the times of Corona, to be as honest with yourself, but also with others, so we can all start to relate to each other. And I got lots of messages that people start to worry about, especially parents, if the school is going to be shut down, if what is going to happen. Maybe all the restaurants, I mean, in some countries already shut down their restaurants. So, I mean, there is lots of stuff going on. And of course, therefore, people are going to react to this in one or another way. And remote leadership in normal environment might be something different than it is today, because people face lots and lots of challenges, especially leaders who are maybe at home as well, and they struggle to take care of themselves, be basically in a state and with the energy they want to be, so they can then show up for others and set up the stage for others so they can perform. I invite you to join those Coffee with Sylvia on a weekly basis, where we will talk, we will have a real and a raw talk about all the things that are reaching me. You are more than welcome to send me, of course, a message, and I will do my best to respond to you, or go into my page WinX Today, where I will respond to, of course, all your questions as well. So let's dive in, and let's start basically with a little bit, and thank you so much again here for bearing with me, starting with business storytelling. And this book is from Francesca Gino. She is a professor of business administration at Harvard Business School. And she wrote the book Rebel Talent. And I believe we need rebel leaders nowadays. And this is all based on, and now I'm going to start to read, because this is basically saying in such a beautiful way what I mean by that. Most businesses are all about following the rules, not breaking them. Whether they are standard procedures on how a job needs to be done, a detailed chain of command, or even the dress code on the job rules can be found everywhere in organizations, and of course in life as well, right? Disregard the rules and it will lead to trouble, even chaos. Rebels are tolerated, or if they become too annoying, they are shown the door. And here she shares a whole story about a chef in Italy, and how he is doing his whole job differently, and people are basically thriving. And this whole book is based here on different principles, and of course also some approaches that rebel talents apply. And she shares here lots of examples how businesses have done it successfully. And why did they do this? It's all about the innovation. So creating creativity, effectiveness, and innovation requires, of course, people to think out of the box. And how can you think out of the box when you are allowed to be out of the box? Meaning, of course, breaking some rules, maybe not in a bad way, don't get me wrong, but in a way that is supporting the cause. And I just wanted to finish and close this off here. I also saw how much rule breaking is associated with innovation. I followed stories of corporate corruptions and misconduct, yes, but also stories of courage. These were stories of rule breaking that brought about positive change, and in ways big and small, made the world a better place. So this is something what I work on a regular basis, basically being a rebel in a good way, because people, you and me, we don't like change just by nature. Research shows that over 90% of people don't like change. And this year, Corona forced all of us to change. And therefore, of course, everybody is reacting to it differently. And I don't want to go into Corona talk at all. I think we have heard about that enough in this year. I just want to share with you that especially when you are a leader, and a leader and leadership skills are required as soon as you have impact on someone. This is something what I invite you here. And I want to start with the definition of leadership from Oxford. And Oxford shares that leadership, the definition of leadership is the action of leading a group of people or organization. And yes, this is one part of leadership. And there are many, many different parts of leadership, especially when it comes to self-leadership. And this is especially important in times like right now. So we can, first of all, have the energy level that we need. And I know, like I mentioned before, messages reached me that some of us struggle with our energy levels on a daily basis, because maybe some of you are stuck. I got, by the way, this week for the second time this year stuck at home because I had to wait for a Corona test if it's negative. And of course, after that, I'm just able to get out and try to be as conscious and as careful as possible in order to not, spread anything to someone without knowing it. And so the test was negative, but I was forced to stay at home. And as soon as we are forced to do something, our brain might react to this in different levels. And I truly believe that this is something what all leaders should have in mind. The brain, having the brain in their mind so they can start to lead people from a place that they set up stages for them, because this is what it is with remote leadership. You are not able to control them, you cannot see them. It's basically all based on trust, and creating trust is, of course, also a journey. I will go into that as well if you want to. But the understanding of neuroscience and using neuroscience is basically to be able to provide a stage to everybody that you're working with. And before I will dive into and ask you a few questions, I have to admit that one of the things that I've seen within this Women's Weekend, where we were running the retreat coaching, mindfulness work, and of course some workshops as well, that it breaks my heart that some of the women really try to act like a man maybe, or believe they have to be very masculine in order to be successful or be a successful leader. And this is from my point of view, after working with really thousands of leaders around the world, there are certain situations where we have to connect with our masculine part. The same applies, by the way, to men. And there are parts where we can connect with our feminine side. Each of us have both of them inside of us, and it's about to create this inner harmony on a daily basis. And that's why it's called WinX today, in order to act from a place of contentment, joy, and alignment. And I came across a very great phrase that I want to share here with you, and it's called "Life is growth." If we stop growing, technically and spiritually, we are as good as that. And this is from the Aikido founder, Mori Ueshiba. He dedicated his life to study and practice several martial arts. And this is basically what represents also kind of like, I believe nowadays, the way how leadership has to be approached. It's basically an ongoing growth process, because things are changing nowadays fast. I've been working in fast-paced, and I'm working in fast-paced environments, and this will, according to some research, will increase. Everything will go even faster, and therefore, of course, we humans are getting faster. We are getting supported by this great, amazing digital era. I just love, of course, being digital by default. It's kind of like something what comes very handy, especially nowadays. So I am traveling full time. I've stopped actually this year due to Corona. I've been working full time remotely the past 3 years. And I am here also to talk about the remote work, how to organize yourself the best way. So this is, of course, everything what we will talk within those weekly sessions. And when it comes to growth, this is something what you can choose to do on a regular basis, or you can just refuse to do it. And sometimes we are forced to grow. And this is maybe even more uncomfortable, but I invite you that no matter what kind of challenge you face at the moment, and don't get me wrong, there are, of course, some challenges that are not related to work that are maybe devastating. But when we are at work, I invite you to look at them. And I will share it with the C3 leadership approach, my own personal approach that I apply on a daily basis. It's very, very simple and therefore applicable, because you don't have to think about it too much. I will get into that soon. But before we'll dive in, I would love to hear from you. What is your number one as a leader? Really get into that. What is your number one? And for me personally, it's really about changing the way the world works. I think this is maybe sounds ridiculous, but I believe that if we are all able to feel, have a safe space and have a safe stage, and can be able to provide the safe stage for people, they can grow and thrive and perform on a level that nobody can imagine. But on the other hand, of course, we are able to do this stuff, what we have to do, or what we are allowed to do, or what we can do on a weekly basis, from a place of, again, contentment, inner peace, joy, and appreciation. Because, like I said, I've been traveling quite a lot, and when there are countries where work is a little bit of a challenge for many people. And another question what I want to share with you is, what do you hope to accomplish as a leader? So if you are in a leadership role, what is it what you want to accomplish? Really answer those questions for yourself. What are your biggest strengths? And I think there is a great, amazing woman here on LinkedIn. I hope I will be able to interview her. She's focusing on strength. Anna Kopman, I hope I've pronounced the name right now. So it's about to understand and to know maybe even those things that are coming easily to you, that those are also your strengths, because this is what we oftentimes tend to underestimate, the things that are coming super easy to us, that those are our strengths as well. And also to see how do you motivate yourself and others? How do you treat yourself and also others? And especially when I say how do you motivate and treat yourself, also when nobody is watching. And last but not least, how do you coach yourself and others? And this is something what I invite you to check in on a quarterly basis, because life happens, work happens, like I like to say, like many things are happening around us. I mean, this year showed it perfectly that there are things out of our control. And at the beginning of the year in a workshop in UK, someone told me that the biggest stress trigger for this leader is, or was back then, not sure if this is the case right now or still, but that the leader does not have all the answers yet. And inviting every single leader out there to be aware of the fact that you can't have all the answers. And this is not even what I believe you should expect from yourself or represent to your team, to people you work with. Why? because none of us has all the answers, but we all have the ability and the tools to figure them out. So this is what I mean by, it's not even about perfectly perfect, but about being the rebel leader, to show that we are all in this together and allow others to relate to them and resonate with them. So this is basically also one part of allowing each other to trust, especially in a remote world. And now I want to dive into, I'm just gonna check, are we live, are we here? Yes, I wanna dive into the C3 leadership approach and share with you a brief challenge. So if you are live here with me, I would love to hear from you. What is your number one goal as a leader? And please share it for the last quarter for you personally as a leader, or maybe how you want to show up in front of others as a leader. I would love to hear this from you. I am personally, like I said, on a mission. I had so many great conversations this week that I could not help myself but start to show up and do my best to share from my heart, and see and hope that this is kind of serving you, especially in those challenging times. And the 3C leadership approach, the 3Cs, I will just here prepare this here for us. So it's going to be super easy for us to talk about and for you also to grab it. It's about the consciousness, about the courage, and about the compassion. C3, super easy to remember whenever you are going to start your day next week, whenever you're going to approach maybe a meeting, whenever you're going to approach a conversation online or offline. C3, about the consciousness. And I will dive into them, each of them, explain them, share with you the approach, what I mean by that, and inviting you to a small, tiny challenge for next week. So, consciousness. What do I mean by it? This is nothing woohoo, although, I shared with you some approaches from a holistic point of view are always included. But the consciousness is about our mental, physical, and emotional awareness within and from others. I will dive into that a little bit deeper in our upcoming conversations and coffee catch-ups. I'm gonna take a sip. If you are here, take a coffee as well, enjoy it. And yes, so this is basically the consciousness, and one of the leadership philosophies, to see how you feel and become aware. And we all know those kind of leaders that are, and this is connected with our overall awareness and how we can lead and manage ourselves. But this kind of consciousness to yourself when you are at home, when you're sitting all day, maybe you have a lack of movement at the moment because you don't have to travel anymore somewhere. Maybe this is something what you enjoy as well. So inviting you to check in with yourself, see how you feel mentally, emotionally, and physically. And once you are there with yourself, see what is in there. Like, is there anything in your body where you maybe hold something in here, especially in our neck? Is there something what you hold maybe in your stomach, in your hips? What someone shared with me, like, yes, stress appears in the feet, in their feet. I haven't heard about that before, and I don't have it, but maybe this is resonating with you. So you really check in with yourself. What's your state? And once you are kind of centered in yourself, you can pay the attention towards others, especially in remote work, where you might have to be able to even just pay attention to the voice, how someone is sharing something, because some companies are not using the video, or you can use the video, so you have to see and look at their face on the laptop, but you don't see the overall nonverbal communication, of course. So consciousness within yourself allows you also to be conscious about others and therefore be a better leader on a daily basis. The second part is courage. So once we see and understand what is happening inside of us and also inside of someone else, we can start to approach, first of all, what is our attitude? And the second thing is, what are our actions towards that? So really have the courage to provide, again, the safe stage to others. And I do it really on a regular basis when I see someone is and well, different, sometimes even different, and I cannot even say if this is someone. Most of the time in business nobody really starts to cry, right? So it's about to see, is someone maybe different? Can I just ask them kindly, not push them, but provide the space that they know that I'm here, and I'm here to listen to them, I'm here to go with them and share their journey with them, and they are not alone. This is very, very crucial, and therefore we have to show up as our unperfectly perfect leaders, so they know that they are not alone, that they know that there is not even a wall, that we are basically, again, perfect, that we have everything sorted out. And the last part is, hello, Volker. Thank you so much for joining. Good morning. As you can see, we are just talking here about the consciousness, the courage, and now I'm going to finish with the part compassion. So once we are conscious about ourselves, mentally, emotionally, and physically, conscious about our team members, about people we are working with, then have the courage to look at our attitude and take the proper action. It comes to the compassion, and this applies especially in this year, in every year, by the way, and it has been such a challenging journey for myself to have compassion with myself, because when you have high standards, when you have high expectations, I think many women especially can resonate with that we are kind of having the tendency to sometimes even overdo. And I had a conversation about the high performance. I will talk about that soon as well. I really hope that this is going to support all of us to work on a daily basis. And Volker, I would love to hear from you, of course, if you are here, what your number one goal is as a leader. And the compassion is basically closest with the first and the second, the consciousness and the courage. And once you combine all of this, you come to the place of compassion, meaning to understand what you have been doing, what do you want to communicate, and how do you want to care about yourself and others. And this is something what we yes, cheers to the coffee, I think, on a Saturday morning. I truly love coffee. I know this is for some people, maybe you love tea, that's perfectly fine as well, of course. But yes, compassion is something what I invite everybody to apply on a daily basis, especially, and I've heard about that recently, that during Corona, we might kind of fall off the wagon, meaning that we had a routine. Maybe we had a routine to go to work, and before that to the gym, or after from our way from the office to the gym and then home, whatever kind of routines you've had in place before, and they got then maybe kind of disrupted due to Corona, or maybe different circumstances right now. I invite you to be compassionate with you, especially when it comes to your daily approach of your any kind of habits. And I share this here, and I'm gonna close this whole session today with this that. And I will talk about that soon as well, about how to approach and how to implement routines, especially in challenging times. And I have my M3, just realizing that lots of stuff is going on on the free, but yes, it's about the movement, it's about the meditation, and it's about the mindfulness on a daily basis. And sometimes it's just 7 minutes for each, because some days are super busy, and on some days I of course mess up badly, but what is happening for all of us sometimes, and this comes into the compassion, is that we fall off the wagon. So we skip this one day, maybe two, maybe three, maybe this 1 week is over, maybe the second week is over, and then we think, okay, everything is over. So we don't kind of start and try to jump back on the train, or if we do so, it is like, oh, you want to start then with 1 hour every single day, or 1 hour for 3 days per week, or something like that. I think this is a really common approach. So Volker, thank you so much. That is so beautiful. I will come to that soon. Wait a second, I will share it soon. I'm not sure how this is working. So, and if you are dropping out of this kind of routine, I invite you to apply compassion with yourself and allow yourself to start with this one single turtle step. Meaning, maybe it is the 7 minutes. I dropped out, I couldn't run, I didn't feel well physically, I was just too weak basically to run. So I started to do some gentle, slow yoga for 7 minutes only, 7 minutes per day, and just implementing those small steps that are super doable, actionable, and of course also applicable in my daily life, started to allow me to kind of create and build up the muscle again and the strength again. And Volker just said, thank you so much for sharing. So what is your number goal? What drives you? And for me, what drives me as a leader to make people thrive and bloom. Yes, and if we are going to do this on a daily basis for everybody, like not only at work, but of course with everybody that we meet, I think we can change together the way the world works. Thank you so much for sharing, Volker. And I want to close off our today's session with a tiny challenge. And the tiny challenge here is, yes, about the three C's. We were just talking about it, about the consciousness, the courage, and the compassion. And like I just mentioned about the turtle steps, it's all about the turtle steps, not to overload ourselves or to overcommit to anything. What is a natural tendency of so many of us, inviting you to commit to one of them, to focus on a daily basis up from today or tomorrow, or if you want to up from Monday. So inviting you to commit to pay attention to one of those three: consciousness, courage, or compassion, and really see if you are able to check in with yourself. For example, if you want to focus on consciousness, I, by the way, set up sometimes alarms on my phone because, yeah, I'd have the tendency to, yes, in my state of flow, let's be raw and real, sometimes I forget everything. Meaning that I have to set up an alarm and remind myself to do things that are maybe not in my official calendar. And you can, of course, also set the 5 minutes or maybe the 10 minutes check in with yourself. Be conscious about how you feel and what you need. And this brings then, or maybe you want to focus on the courage. Maybe you already are aware of what's going on. Then look at your attitude and at the action, what you want to apply to this certain situation. Or last but not least, maybe it's currently super challenging for you and you want to focus on compassion towards yourself. Inviting you to commit to one of those three, a tiny challenge for you for next week or maybe up from today. And thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, just let me know. And of course, but first, coffee. This is what I will be hopping on a weekly basis. I haven't shared now all the days because I'm not sure where I will be. I thank you so much for joining me, for tuning in. And I wish you all a great weekend, a great Saturday. I will now start to prepare a little bit of a food for a birthday party and then have a great day with some friends of mine. I hope you can enjoy the day as well. Maybe you relax, maybe you are on the road, whatever it is, inviting you to win X today, the way how you want it to be, on your own terms and with your own rules. Thank you so much.